With that, we'd like to recognize the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Duffy, who is chairman of the Oversight Committee. One of our toughest guys on the committee. He's got one of the toughest committees to be able to go after some of the issues that we're working on. With that, he's recognized for 2.5 minutes.
The gentleman is recognized for 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank you, Chairman Luetkemeyer, for all your hard work on what I think is an excellent bill. It's fascinating to sit in this chamber and listen to the debate and the fear-mongering that takes place. But before I get into that, let's take just a little trip down memory lane. We have to look at the financial crisis and what the Democrats chose to do. The idea that you can't let any good crisis go to waste. There's a financial crisis, so we go to our file cabinets, we open them up, and every progressive liberal idea we take out and put them into Dodd-Frank, a 2,300-page bill. A bill that was written before the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission even came out with their report on the cause of the crisis. So this is a very, very simple tweak. Right now, we have designations for systemically risky banks at a set asset threshold of $50 billion. Well, I can tell you what, I have banks in Wisconsin, they're small regional banks, not Wall Street banks, that are getting crushed by these new rules and regulation. So all we're saying is, my friends across the aisle, you love the regulators. You think the regulators are awesome. We're trying to empower the regulators to look at the facts on the ground, to look at the interconnectedness and the complexity to determine risk, not just have a one-size-fits-all mentality. It's not one-size-fits-all. We're more complex. Banks are as different as people. Let's look at the complexity at every bank and make sure they can operate within their communities in a way that fits the risk to the financial system. And this gets back to the American people. Why does this matter? Why is this not just about finance and complex rules? Because if banks can't lend, or if they lend, you're driving up the cost of their lending. That has a real impact on the small businesses in my community, the families in my community that can't get a loan, or the loans they do get, the costs are going through the roof because of all the new compliance costs. The bottom line is, why do we want to have increased regulatory burdens on banks that aren't risky? Let's focus the regulatory focus like a laser on the banks on Wall Street who do need the increased regulation, but not the ones that don't. One size doesn't fit all. Let's work together. Let's modify Dodd-Frank. This isn't holy text. This isn't holy scripture. It didn't come down from the heaven on high. It can be fixed. It's not perfect. And even, again, we're going to say this all day, Barney Frank even thinks the threshold is too low. It can be fixed, and I look forward to working with my good friend, the ranking member. Common sense reform that looks to your good friends, the regulators, to take a solid look at risk profiles and then decide what kind of regulatory regime is necessary for the risk that's presented by each of these banks. With that, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your work. I encourage everyone, I know on both sides of the aisle, to support this common sense bill that supports small businesses and American families to make America great again. I yield back.